Okay, Q&A. Who has a Q? Yeah, Moshe.
Okay, it's based on the Rambam and Hilchos Tשוba.
Okay.
Perek Ches Holach Vav.
Okay. I like the specificity. Rambam, Hilchos Tשוba, Ches Vav. Yeah. Should I read it before you ask the question, or do you want to ask the question before?
Sure.
Okay. Shema talk. So this is the parak about Olam Haba. Shema and Rambam, I think on all these other things, talked about how Olam Haba is the ultimate reward, and Kares is the ultimate Nekama, the ultimate punishment, and it's entirely non-physical. Okay, and then he says, Shema takel be'inacha tovazo. Maybe this good will be insignificant in your eyes or less significant. V'tidme she'in tzachar hamitzvos v'yos adam shalim b'darchei emes ela lios ochel v'shosel machals tovos ubo tzuros naos v'lovesh bigdei sheish v'rikma v'shochin b'olei sheinu mishtamish b'klei kesef zav v'dvarim adomim elu k'moshim damim elu ha'arbaim ha'tipshim ha'yavilim ha'shtufim b'zima. Right. So, and maybe you'll think that the only reward for the mitzvos, that was a good run-on sentence, right? Only reward for the mitzvos and for a person being perfected in the ways of truth is for a person to be in a state of eating and drinking good foods and having bia with beautiful forms. We always say suros knowledge, right? Especially because surah right above is like like the non-physical surah, but whatever. But we know what he means, I think. Unless it's some sort of like a conspiracy theory remez, like he's really alluding to I don't know, union with the active intellect or something. And wearing garments of silk, sheshes. Yeah, right. And rikma is embroidery, right? Rokim, and dwelling in marble tents. Isn't Shane marble? Yeah. Okay.
Shaish marble.
Oh, Shaish marble. Okay. What is Shane? Ivory?
Ivory, yeah, I thought so.
Ivory tents. Okay, sounds a little fragile, or I don't know. And utilizing silver and gold vessels and things similar to these, as is imagined by the foolish, idiotic Arabs who are steeped in lechery. Yeah.
And then I think he goes on and he says that you can't understand Olam Haba, and that, but it still is supposed to be something that you should desire and you should want it. That's my question is on. How are you supposed to desire Olam Haba or something like that if you can't understand anything about it itself?
Right.
You're quote unquote an idiot if you want something that you understand.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's a good question. Okay. I actually want to read the part that you're talking about because I think it's important here. Yeah. Hatova Hagadola. Shati baha nefesh b'olam haba ein sham derech b'olam hazel hasiga bo v'leda osa. So the great good that the soul will enjoy in olam haba, there's no way in this world to grasp it or to know it. She'inanu yodim b'olam hazeh ela tovas haguf, because in this world we only know bodily pleasures or bodily goods. V'la anu misavim, and that's what we desire. V'al osa hatova hagdola ad me'od, but that great good is very, very good. And the only comparison to the goods in this world is by way of allegory. But in truth, but in truth, to compare the goods of the soul in Olam Haba to the goods of the body in this world in eating and drinking, it's not true. Or not so. That good is great to the point where it cannot be fathomed, and there's no comparison and no similarity. David, how great is the good that you have hidden away for those who fear you? You have wrought it for those who hope in you. Okay, but then the real contradiction is the very next thing, right? Right? How much did David? I think hama is literally to moan, right? Or to like yain home shechar. He moans for strong drink, and he yearned for olam haba, right? So the question is, how can you yearn for something like this if it's impossible? Let's put it together, right? Is if all desires operate via the imagination, right? For normal people through imagery, and for people who have aphantasia through whatever digits you guys imagine. I don't know. So it's through sensory particulars, okay? And if olam haba is not physical, So how could you angry emoji? Yeah, then how could you desire it? How could David desire it? Yeah. Okay, so that's a good question. So I wrote an article about why the Torah doesn't mention Olam Haba. Okay. And so what essentially what the article is the Abravanel gives, I think, 7 reasons. Yeah, he gives 6 reasons from the other Rishonim about why the Torah doesn't mention Olam Haba, and then he gives his own reason. Okay, and I think I updated this. Oh, and then I gave an 8th answer, and my answer is based on what you said. Okay, so I quote the part. Oh, sorry, I quote another Rambam here. So in Yud, which is about Lishma and Lo Lishma, he starts off by saying, All Yomer Adam Harini Osem Mitzvahs HaTorah V'Osek B'Chachmas HaKadesh Akabel HaBrachos HaKsuvas B'Torah Okadesh Ezkel L'Chaylam Haba. Person should not do the mitzvos. Sorry, the person should not say, you can think it, just don't say it. No. It should not say, I'm going to do the mitzvahs of the Torah and be involved in its chachma so that I can receive the blessings that are written in the Torah. Or that I should merit the life in Olam Haba. The Efrosh min ha'avera she's here at Torah mehem kadesh not tell min haklalos haksuvos but Torah o kadesh shel ikars me Olam Haba. Or I will refrain from the averos that the Torah warns against, so that I'll escape from the klalos that are written in the Torah, or that I won't get cut off from Olam Haba. And then he says that it's only only people who do this are Amei Haaretz and Nashim Katanim, and that's Shelo Lishma, and that's Ovid Miyira, right? So he classifies learning for Olam Haba and doing the mitzvahs for Olam Haba as a lo lishma, right? But then he says David Melech yearned for it, right? So like, what's up with that? Okay, so I phrase the question here: if Olam Haba is the ultimate good, why shouldn't it motivate our observance of mitzvahs? We hold it's real, right? So you would think that like. That, and it's a state where you can be involved purely in chachma and not have any, ra or anything like that. So like, why shouldn't I want it? Okay. So I answered based on the halal, because I said, the answer lies in the fact that it is impossible for us to comprehend the true nature of reward in Olam Haba. The Rambam introduces this difficulty in his introduction to Chelek, which is, I want to read this also. Now I don't have to pull it out. Know that just as a blind man cannot experience colors, nor can a deaf man experience sounds, nor can a eunuch experience sexual desire, so too physical bodies cannot experience spiritual enjoyments. And just as a fish does not recognize the element of fire because the fish is immersed in its opposite, so too one cannot know the enjoyments of the spiritual world while one is in this physical world, for we have no enjoyment other than bodily enjoyments alone, such as the experiences of our senses in eating, drinking, and sex, and everything outside these physical enjoyments is not experienced by us, nor can we recognize it, nor can we apprehend it in our initial analysis, but only after much investigation. It's funny because in the Mishnah Torah, he says you can't know it. Here he says you can't experience it, and you can't apprehend it with our initial analysis, but only after much investigation. This is because we are in a physical world that cannot apprehend anything other than its enjoyments. But enjoyments of the soul are constant and unceasing, and there's no relationship at all between these and those. Then I quote the part that you quoted or that you referenced. Okay, so then here's my answer. Having established all these premises, I would like to propose my own answer to our original question. Why do the promises in the Written Torah focus exclusively on physical reward without ever explicitly mentioning the spiritual reward for the soul in the afterlife? Because since it is absolutely impossible to conceive of the spiritual enjoyments of Olam Haba, then if we were to be motivated by the promise of such a reward, we would by definition be chasing a fantasy. In other words, whatever notion of Olam Haba is driving our motivation must of necessity be false, since it is impossible for a physical being to conceive of non-physical enjoyments. It is for this reason that the Torah promises physical blessings to those who obey Hashem. The individual whose avoda is motivated by these physical blessings and the individual whose avoda is motivated by Olam Haba are both engaged in avoda shelo lishma, but the former individual is on a higher level because at least he's being motivated by a reality, whereas the latter is being motivated by a fantasy. I don't know if I still agree with that, but that's so that's my answer to that question, right? So in other words, basically the premise of your question is my answer to this question is Olam Haba is a lo lishma, insofar as you're being driven by the fantasy of Olam Haba. Okay, but now your question is, how can David desire Olam Haba? So the thing is I think, and I didn't answer that here, but I think that I think the Rambam is right. Okay, that you can't actually be, you can't desire the pleasure. And I think when he says in 8, Kama Hama David, what did he say? The hisava l'tova zo. Kama hama David hisava l'chaylam haba. Right. So I think you have to say that intellectually he knows it's a good, and he knows what the causes of that good are, and his desire is going to have to attach itself to the means of that in this world, which is knowledge, which he knows intellectually is related to Olam Haba, meaning it's not like the knowledge that you're involved in here, the pleasure of Olam Haba is not experienceable at all here. But the phenomenon you're engaged in here is the phenomenon that your soul is engaged in Olam Haba. So there is an actual connection. It's not like an arbitrary, like, unrelated reward, you know? So the only answer I have is that it must be that he is yearning for Olam Haba as an abstract good, but the desire only attaches to the experience of the good that he has here, knowing intellectually that it will come. And I think that's supported in the way that the Rambam depicts Lishma in 10 10. Hold on, did I skip it? Oh yeah, 10:2. Someone who is a servant out of love and who is involved in Torah mitzvos and walks on the paths of Chachma, not because of any worldly phenomenon, not because of fear of the bad, and not in order to inherit the good. He does the truth because it is true. And the good will come of its own accord. Meaning, I think that's like I don't know exactly how to translate that or what he means by that, but in other words, you should know that as a result of why you're doing, as a result of doing the good now, there will be a good that comes of its own accord, but you're not yearning for that good because that yearning is impossible. You have a question, Ezra?
I mean, yeah, man was before, but it was
yeah.
So then, are you saying that what he desires is like learning or doing mitzvos?
Yeah.
And he's just calling that Kayin Allah because that's the soul experiences. What your soul experiences while you're doing mitzvos is what it will experience in Olam Haba?
I think when he says that David desires Olam Haba, he means that he desires it because he knows it's good, but the actual desire attaches to being osek in Torah mitzvos here. And then when he says in 10:1, I think that's the fantasy. Like the doing it so I can be Zochet Olam Haba, I think is the psychological fantasy that we allow a person to like do, like to be motivated by until, what was this phrase here that I really like? Daitan. Therefore, when we teach kids and women and ignorant men, we only teach them in order to serve out of fear and to receive reward. Until their minds mature or until their knowledge is increased, however you want to translate that. And they become wise with an exceeding superior wisdom. We reveal the secret to them little by little. Oops, I forgot to stop recording. No, I'm just kidding. And we accustom to this concept gently. Until they grasp it and know it and serve out of love.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. I had a different intuition for how I thought you were going to answer.
Sure. I'd like to hear that.
I thought that it was going to be something based on negative knowledge. They can't desire anything positive about it.
Yeah.
Because they don't know anything what it is. They just know what's not good. And they know that generally, like Koheles, and they know that people will chase after Havalim.
Yeah.
And they can recognize that that's not what you should be desiring.
Right. So I think your intuition is not off because I think I did actually invoke Koheles. Oh, wait, was it in here? Oh, hold on a second. Koheles. Oh no. Okay, so so there's psukim in Koheles that talk about where it sounds like he's denying Olam Haba. I think it's in 4. Mishlei. Sorry, force valid. No, sorry, it's in the end of 3. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. So one fate before there's one fate of man and one fate of an animal and one fate for all of them. Like this one dies, so too that one dies, and there's one spirit for all of them, and the advantage of man over the animal is nothing, and everything is futile or transient. Everything goes to one place. Which always makes me think of what parents. I don't know if this is the thing that other parents said. I think my grandparents told my mom this of like when my mom would fuss about like having stuff on the same plate, it all goes to the same place. That's what my association is. Everything comes from the dust and everything will return to the dust. And here's the pasuk. So the false way to translate it is who knows whether the spirit of man goes upwards and the spirit of the animal goes downwards to the earth. Okay, so Rebbe points out, but I think before him the Ibn Ezra points out the Hey Hayedia. It's not who knows whether, it's who knows the soul that goes up or the spirit that goes up, the spirit that goes down. Meaning that you can't have positive knowledge of the phenomenon of what the soul is or what it enjoys in the afterlife. And in the context of my thesis of Koheles is it's shooting down what I call a Yisron fantasy, which is some fantasy that drives people that they can't actually attain, and there's different categories of it. So the Yisron fantasy here is chasing after Olam Haba, which can't actually motivate you for the reasons we discussed. And so I do think there is an element in what you're saying that you do have to work on chipping away at the fantasy. But I do think that what ultimately will motivate you, you have to be motivated by something. And I think that something is just the experience of learning and the knowledge that it's good. Yeah. Okay. Good question though. Ellie?
Yeah, hi. So I have a question on vidui actually, because I was when reading through it, and I can't imagine I'm the first one to ask this, but the last word, tiatanu, which kind of seems like antithetical to the rest of it, right? Like the rest of it's a bunch of like taking accountability and responsibility, and then tiatanu, like you let this happen to us. So it's like, well, God, like you shouldn't have put us in this situation. Like I saw it as a little bit contradictory.
Okay, good question. Okay, so Art Scroll translates it as wait, where is it here? So hold on. This is in the end of the short vidui. Moshe, mobilize yourself grammatically. Tiatanu, Art Scroll translates it as you have let us go astray. Okay. I don't have a Koran sitter. I think Koran translates it differently. What was it? It's the same? Oh, okay, fine. So then maybe we saw this so Eitz Yosef says, so he quotes the pasuk in Divrei Hayamim from the Abu Dharam. He quotes the Abu Dharam quoting from Divrei Hayamim. Umitatim b'neviav, that the translation is to mock. Okay. So we have mocked. I don't know, maybe there's a more specific thing than mocked, but that's the meaning there. So first of all, that's like one, I'm not answering your question, but that's one way. Not everyone acknowledges your question because not everyone translates it as that. Okay. Opir shaloh halachna b'derech hayashar. I never know. I never know how to do the hey and the huff. So yeah, it was weird, right? Whatever. Kulanu katzon ta'inu. Okay, that's ta'inu though. L'chein af atalo azartanu l'shuv. V'zelashon tiatanu. Ratzalomar shehinachta osanu al b'chirasenu lios toim al shalo asinu al lev l'shuv elacha. So he says like this, that we have wandered. So tough ayin hey means to stray or to wander. Like he met an adam toe basadeh, like wandering around in the field. Or sorry, a person encountered him wandering in the field. No, wait, but Yosef, right? When he's looking for his brothers?
Yeah, he was Toba.
He was Toba Sadeh, right? Yeah, he was Toba Sadeh, yeah. So he says, V'lechin af ata lo azar tanu lashuv. So you have not assisted us in returning. V'zeh sha'amar titanu ratzlamar shihinachta osanu al b'chirasenu. That you left us with our bechira, lios toim al shalo asinu al lev l'shuv elacha, to leave us straying, because we did not al shalo asinu. What does that mean? Shalo asinu al lev l'shuv elacha. Is he saying that we did not take it to heart to return to you? Yeah. This is different from what I remember. So Asin is weird though, right? Doesn't that mean, can you read that as that he did not make us? Or he did not like... Yeah, right? Can you read that way, or is that grammatically not sound?
Asino Alev is like
Asino what?
I feel like Asino Alev.
That could be also, yeah, I'm not sure. This is the Chai Adam, yeah.
Oh, this is Chai Adam?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No,
You guys are buds?
Paul mentioned this over Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact phrase of Asino Alev, but I think what it's saying is that the person makes the first Bechira.
Yeah.
So he makes the Bechira Lara, and that's him being Kawa.
Yeah.
And then I think you might have mentioned like the B'derach Adam Rosat Leich Malichin or so.
Yeah.
So then God just continues him on that path.
Yeah.
That's what it means you let us.
Okay. That was my intuition also.
Right.
That was my intuition also. In other words, one of the consequences of Chet is you lose your Bechira, or you get the results of your Bechira in terms of continuing on that path. Or Habalatame. It's funny. Habalatar Masainoso and Habalatame. There's another verb that's used there that's not Masainoso. Yeah, I just read it because someone's making a distinction between the two. Poskenlo, maybe. Maybe there's different versions of it, you know. So I think, Ellie, I think that's the simplest answer to your question, which is that it is a vidui, but it's also a recognition that we are in need of assistance because of our own chet, that we've sinned in a way that has caused ourselves to go astray. I think in the English, the way that the article translates it, it does look accusatory, like you have let us go astray. And I actually have I have to deploy this. Okay, so I was trying to write an article on Brachis, and I did not finish it. And there's this this like crazy drasha about Kayin. I mean, there's probably a lot of them. Okay, but I'm gonna go ahead and hijack the Q&A here. Not that one. Yeah, that is crazy also. Yeah. Yeah. If you don't know about that, ask me about Chava Harishona later. Okay, so we know what is when Hashem confronts Adam and Chava, what do?
They blame other people.
They blame other people, right? So Adam blames Chava, Chava blames the Nachash, right? Okay. So when Hashem confronts Kayin, so obviously when Hashem asks, I have Achicha, where's Hevel your brother? He's asking this to open up an opportunity for Tשוba, right? Okay, so the, sorry, I got to look at the crime first. So the crime says, the crime is presented in a weird way. Vayomer Kain el Helva Achiv, ... Vayhi biyosam basadeh, vayakam Kain el Hevel Achiv vehargehu. So, and Kain said to Hevel his brother, and it doesn't say what he said to him, okay? And it was when they were in the field, Vayachim Kain rose up, El Hevel Achiv against Hevel his brother, Ve'argei, and killed him. Okay. V'yomer Hashem el Kain, and Hashem said to Kain, Hevel Achicha, where is Hevel your brother? V'yomer, and he says, so Pshat is, Lo yadati, I don't know. Hashomer Achi Anochi, am I my brother's keeper? Okay. So the Tanchuma, I'm going to just read this in English to save the time. Okay. Okay. So this is a lot of midrashim on what they were debating. Okay. But this one says, okay, others contend that Kain told Hevel, let us divide the world between us, and Hevel replied, certainly. Whereupon Hevel took the flocks as his share, and Kain took the land to till. They agreed that neither should take anything belonging to the other. However, after accepting the flock as his share, Hevel grazed the flock upon Kain's land. Kain pursued Hevel over the hill and vale until they began wrestling with one another. At first, Hevel overpowered Kain and threw him to the earth. So Hevel was going to kill Kain. A lot of people don't know that. All right. When Kain realized that he was being defeated, he pleaded, Hevel, Achi, my brother. That's the drasha on El Hevel Achiv. Okay. Do not harm me. Because he was a merciful person, Hevel released him. As soon as Kain arose, he slew Hevel. As it is said, Kain arose. The words Kain arose clearly indicate that he must have been hurled to the ground previously, because you can't get up unless you were knocked down. Okay. After killing Hevel, he said to himself, I must flee from my mother and father, for they will ask me where he is, since there are only two of us. Kadosh Baruch Hu appeared before him immediately, saying, you can flee from your parents, but not from me. As it is stated, can any man hide himself in secret places that I not see him? Saith the Lord, do I not fill heaven and earth? The Holy One asked, where is Hevel your brother? And he continued, so this is, Hashem says, this is a radical statement, woe unto him who was merciful to you and refrained from killing you when you were beneath him. When he permitted you to rise, you killed him. So Hashem is basically saying, Hevel should have killed you, okay? All right, how did he kill him? he inflicted numerous wounds upon his body with a stone. He smote him over his entire body, from his hands and to his feet and his throat, for he had no way of knowing where his soul would depart. Here's the part. When the Holy One, blessed be he, asked him, where is Havel your brother? He replied, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? You are the guardian of all. This is Kayin talking to Hashem. You are the guardian of all, yet you seek him from me. This may be compared to a thief who steals during the night, but is not apprehended while committing the crime. When the watchman seizes him the next morning and asks, why did you steal those utensils? The thief replies, I am a thief. I did not neglect my profession. Your job is to keep watch at the gate. Why did you neglect your duties? Now you question me? So Kayin retorted, true, I slew him, but you created the evil inclination within me. Since you were the guardian of all, why did you permit me to slay him? You are called the I who killed him. For if you had accepted my sacrifice as you accepted his, I would not have been envious of him. Now, what's the drasha? This is a clever drasha. What does it mean? So how is the Midrash reading the pasuk of Lo yidat hashomer achi anochi? Yeah, Isaac?
The one who, the shomer of my brother is the one who is called Anochi.
Yes. Hashomer achi anochi. The one who says Anochi Hashem Elokacha, that's the shomer of my brother. Okay, so he is doing worse than Adam and Chava, because Adam and Chava were acknowledging that they sinned, but blaming like other, like temptation stuff. Kayin is blaming God and saying, you really are the one who should have guarded me. And you're the one who's killing, who killed Hevel because you created the Yitzhara in me. So it's a total blame of God. Yeah.
I mean, like 3 psukim before you, like God had the conversation, like you have a Yitzhara.
I know, right? He told him this exact lesson that you have Bechira, right? So so what I wanted to connect this. So I read this, and then I went to, there's this astounding thing in Ne'ilah, that, hold on a second. Did I not get the Otra Tefilos of Ne'ilah? Am I going to be able to find it? Okay, so I'll just say it, okay? Someone found an ancient manuscript that they think is Rashi, because we don't know if this is actually Rashi. So our vidui opens with Atan nosin yad leposhim v'mincha psucha lekabo shavim. So you extend your hand to sinners, to poshim, and your right hand is extended to welcome penitents. Okay, so I always understood that to be just be synonyms. Okay, like your hands are open to welcome the people who want to do tshuva. But that Rashi pamphlet says, "Ata nosin yad leposhim," you are the one who gives sinners the ability to sin, but your hand is open to receive penitence. Okay. So what I wanted to write this article about basically is that there are 2 ways you can ascribe your sin to God. Okay. The incorrect way is to do what Kayin did, which is to not take accountability for your sin and to blame God and say, since you gave me Bechir and you gave me Yitzhara, then really it's your fault that this happened. Okay. But the correct way is to recognize is basically what the Rambam says in Hilchos Tshuva, that part of the yesod of Tshuva is where does he say it? Oh, he said it in 2. No. Second paragraph? Yeah. Don't let this thing enter into your mind that is said by the idiots of the world and the majority of the underdeveloped Jews. The God decrees upon a person from inception to be a tzaddik or rasha. This is not true. Each and every person is roy to be a tzaddik like Moshe Rabbeinu or a rasha like Yeravam, or wise or foolish or merciful or cruel or stingy or spendthrifty, and all the other character traits. So in other words, you have to recognize that you can be bocher bara to the fullest extent or be bocher b'tov to the fullest extent, and you have to take accountability for that. So I think, Eli, that's a different answer to your question, which is Titanu is recognizing, like we read, that God gives Bechira, but it's also a full taking accountability of the fact that you gave me the ability to be boker, and I let myself go astray as a result of this chait. Yeah.
Like ta'inu, tidanu, like together.
Yeah, that could be good, right? Ta'inu, we have gone astray, and then you have given us the bechira, which has caused us to go astray, which we have, due to our own faults. Yeah. Yeah. So I think the English seems accusatory, and I think Kayin would read it that way, but we have to read it as we have been given bechira.
Yeah. I think it's also interesting because once you like kind of spelled it out, I mean, I'm not a grammatical genius when it comes to Hebrew, but ending with the nun vav, that usually implies some sort of level of ownership, as opposed to, I guess, if it would end with a chet, right? Like, so it would end with a you, like addressing someone else.
I don't really know what the alternate thing would be, but I like what Ezra just said, which is that it should be ta'inu, we have gone astray, and then recognizing why we've gone astray, because we have led ourselves astray. We have again, I don't know if you can translate it fully into, because there should be a way to translate this where it's both, right? Where it's like, you have let us go astray, but it doesn't sound accusatory. We got to work on that for next year. Yeah, or next video. Okay, another question. Next question, if there is one. Isaac.
So I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Like, is there it's a, should a person be trying to get the Keser Shel Torah?
Oof.
The emphasis on should.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just really quickly review what the Keser Shel Torah is. So Rambam in Talmud Torah Perek Gimel says B'shlosh Ksharim Nichtru Yisrael. So with 3 crowns, Israel is crowned: Keser Torah, Keser Kuna, Keser Malchus. So the crown of the priesthood, the crown of kingship, and the crown of Torah, or the other way around. So the crown of kingship of Kuna belongs to Aaron and his descendants. The crown of Malchus belongs to David and his descendants. Keser Torah Hari Munach Omin Muchan Lakol. But the crown of Torah is sitting there, standing and ready for everyone. Shneimar says, Torah Tzivah Moshe Marash Gilas Yaakov Kol Mi Shirta Yavo V'Yitol. The Torah, Moshe commanded us the Torah. It's an inheritance for the congregation of Jacob. Anyone who wants can come and take it, as if it is as easy. Okay. So, and then he goes and tells you how to do it. Okay, which is the rest of the Perek Gimel. Okay. But it's funny. I forgot how we explain this, but he has a couple halachos, and then in Vav he says, Misha nasa'o libo l'kayim mitzvah karoila lios mukhtar b'keser Torah. Someone whose heart has raised him to fulfill this mitzvah properly and wants to be crowned with the crown of Torah. Then he tells you how to do it. So I forgot what. I guess I guess Aleph through Hey is lauding and extolling the crown of Torah, and then 6 through the end is telling you how to do it. Right. So the question is, should you try for it, or should you want it? I forgot your question.
Should you try for it?
Try for it. Yeah, Ezra?
Just simply says it's mitzvah, right? It says.
Yeah, right. Right. It's definitely the highest level of doing the mitzvah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So in my youth, I would have said that everyone should try to get the crown of Torah, right? Because why not? It's the best. Okay. But in my prodigy old age, but I think what happens is so everyone has a chelik in Torah, right? Right? So not everyone's chelik is equal, right? When Rambam says you could be a tzaddik like Moshe Rabbeinu, he does not mean that you can know Hashem face to face. Okay. I have a diuk in that, by the way, that I noticed. I'll say afterwards. So the thing is like, I think when you start off, then it's good to lean into your ambitions and because you don't know what your potential is, and try to get the Keser Shel Torah, right? But I think the more you know yourself, the more realistic you will be, or the more realistic you should try to be, and to know whether it's really in your power to get the Keser Shel Torah. Not everyone, he says, okay, look, he says anyone who wants can reach out and get it. Does he mean Yitol that you can get it? Or like, is the Yitol like doing the Maisa Natila, like to try to like take it, I honestly don't think, I don't know. I don't know if it's possible for everyone to get the Keser Shel Torah. Let's put it this way. It's not possible for everyone to get the Keser Shel Torah. Does he think it's possible? I don't know. okay, I don't think it's possible. Like, and let's put it this way. Maybe you can argue that by disposition, it's possible in the same way that we say all men are created equal, that like by constitution as a human being and as a member of Klal Yisrael, on paper, it's all equal. But I do not think that Moshe Rabbeinu, Rabbi Akiva, and like the guy who, the 80-year-old guy who's on his deathbed who never learned Torah in his life, can get like numbers like this. Even if by nature everyone is able to get it, you live life as a finite being in time, and you make decisions and you cut off opportunities. So at a certain point, Rabbi Akiva was able to start very late. If Rabbi Akiva had started when he was 70, do you think he could have gotten the Kesser Torah? I don't think so. And I don't think it's realistic to say that you could. So even if the Rambam is right, so I don't think the Rambam is right. I just does not make sense to me that everyone has the equal ability to get the Kesser Torah. But even if the Rambam is right that you could get the Kesser Torah, in reality, then there is a closing window of opportunity. You have a limited amount of years. You have a limited amount of time in yeshiva, and people make bad choices, or they make good choices, and the circumstances don't allow them to get this, So to answer your question, Isaac, I think like you need to strive as realistically as you can while trying to know yourself, but also not selling yourself short. And I think different people err on different sides. Like I think there are people who are very quick to say that they don't have the ability to get the Kesser Torah, and then that cuts them off from it. And then there are people who try to overshoot what their abilities are, and then that destroys them. Like you could be destroyed from this. Like there are people, and when I say destroyed, I mean like at the very least you could be let down. And then there are people, like I've heard horror stories about, like, not in our yeshiva, but guys who are in other yeshivas who will try to follow this prescription of like limiting how much they eat and limiting how much they sleep, and they end up having like mental breakdown. Like they end up having like I've heard of suicides, like, or depression. Like now, whether the mental illness starts and it's manifesting in this, or whether this contributes to it, I don't know. But like it's a you could destroy yourself from this. One of the many discussions I would love to have had with Rabbi Moskowitz before he died is Rabbi Moskowitz always used to say that when he was in yeshiva, he used to want to be a posek. And then eventually he came to terms with the fact that he does not have the memory to have a mastery of halacha. And the Rabbi Moskowitz that we've known has always had a horrible memory, So like, I want to ask him, like, did he have a better memory? Did he just delude himself into thinking that he could be a posek? Like, did he think that there was a route to being a posek that didn't require memory? And what did it look like for him to come to terms with it? So that's so I don't know, but look at all the Talmidei Chachamim we know. Like you can see different people have different chelek in Torah. Look at the Mefarshim, right? Like the Abravanel did not write Chidushim on Shas, right? Ibn Ezra did not write Chidushim on Shas. Balai Tosfos wrote Torah commentary, but they didn't write philosophy books, right? Like there's different halakim, and like I think part of being a human being and a Torah learning Jew is you have to. I would say, let me give you an actionable alternative, Isaac, is when you start off in yeshiva, strive for the Kesser Torah, but that should morph into striving to attain your chelek in Torah. Yeah, last question, or last detail here.
I was reading the Rishimos.
Yeah.
He was trying to differentiate between this and I think the first parak. He said the first parak is talking about Yedias Torah, and this parak is talking about Yegias Torah.
Interesting.
Being involved, and he said basically everyone's five to have Yegias in Torah, and even someone who's like a fool, still could get to this level where he's constantly involved in it, even if he's not going to become as great of a Talmid Chacham. Okay,
that's a good distinction. I have to read through and see if I agree with it, because I don't remember. I mean, on the surface, it sounds like you're right, because a lot of these do seem to talk about your endeavor, right? I have to also see what the Kesser Torah is, like the concept of Kesser, because that's the other weird thing, is like what is the comparison we made here between the Kesser of Kahuna, Torah, and Malchus? Sounds like an attainment, like Kesser, Kahuna, and Malchus are not Yegia, right? So like, what's the but that's a good opening for further research. Yeah. Okay, I think this is a good question, Isaac. I'm sure there's a lot more to discuss, but we'll stop for today. All right, have a good day, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
The